Welcome to Keep Your Head Up Hockey. I'm your host, Jamie, and we got J Dog in the house once again. J Dog, how's it going in Dominican today, buddy?
It's a little dark and gloomy, but even when it's dark and gloomy, it ain't so bad, right? So,
Well, we're videoing this right as the main vote for Canada is going on. And if you're watching it, you better have voted because you know what? The last 10 years is not the Canada that I wanted. And I'm voting for change. And I voted. So I bet you better have voted as well out there because I want some change. What's your votes, Jay, on the vote today? Or what was your thoughts on the vote today and what's going on in Canada?
I voted online. I think this is the most important vote that Canada's ever had. I'm pretty positive that most people want change, but there is some. I'm sorry. There's a lot of liberal mentality that they just think that they don't like Pierre for some reason or another, and it bothers me. It scares me actually. Now I'm not necessarily a big Pierre fan either, but I know that if Canada goes through any more time with the Liberals in power, the country's going to separate, and that's basically
Yeah.
what you're voting for. People that don't understand what they're voting for right now, if they're not voting for the Conservatives, they're voting for the separation of Canada. That's exactly it. And if Canada separates, I'm sorry, Liberals, but it's your fucking fault. That's fact.
Yep.
There's no other
Absolutely.
way around it. Like anybody that thinks otherwise is either not knowing what's going on or they're mentally ill. It's one or the other. And I'm sorry, I don't care what anybody says. I am this my opinion. And you know what?
Yep.
I can pretty much guarantee you a lot of these people are mentally ill. And you can see
Well,
what's in the streets of fucking United States, or sorry, in United States. My apologies. In Toronto and Vancouver and wherever else, the crime rate has gone up. I think they said something like 3,000% since the Liberals have been in charge.
business.
You know, all these people that are coming in from other countries, all they did was bring them in on a guarantee. You vote Liberal, we're going to give you whatever the hell you want. And if you can't figure that out, that's on you. That's too bad for you that you're not friggin' educated. And I'm sorry, I don't really give a shit what you think. I don't care because you're not informed. That's fact.
Yeah.
So anyway, I said my piece. I won't say anymore.
In my last few cents on this too, it's unfortunate that the people that are voting for liberals don't remember the last fucking 10 years of what this country and the normal working man has went through. It's been a struggle for my family. It's been a struggle for my friend's family. It's been a struggle for the neighbor down the street. Like I own my home and I have a mortgage. And in 5 years, if the liberals get in, I probably won't have a home anymore.
No, there's
Because it's crazy. But I really hope that the mass majority of our young population got out and vote because I know that they know what's best for this country. It's the 60 plus, the 55 plus, the crazies that are voting wrong. And only time will tell because I'll tell you right now, if it's a red vote in, Jay, I'm moving to Dominican, buddy. I'm
well, we
moving
won't
to
we
Dominican.
won't we won't be allowed to have this show because it'll be censored, and there's
Yep.
no, like, we wouldn't be allowed to be, people are not understanding. They're not seeing these bills that are being passed in the middle of the night, basically illegally. They're supposed to have the House of Commons shut down. Parliament's not supposed to be going, and they're passing bills. That's illegal. You can't pass bills without friggin', and Carney's not even the prime minister. He's
No.
president, prime minister elect, whatever you want to call it. So it's absolute crap. And this guy, he's in a smoke show of a dreamland. I'll tell you right now. Look what we've done in 9 days, more than whatever. You've been the guy that's been friggin' making Trudeau look like an idiot for the last, 10 years, like, or one of the guys. So anyway, whatever. Let's move on.
Yeah, let's talk hockey. Well, Leafs losing OT. I gotta say, man, it was a great game. Great game. Jake Sanderson gets his first OT goal. It's his first year in the NHL. Gets his first OT goal. 17 minutes into OT, and they avoid the sweep. But I gotta say, it's not a battle of Ontario. Unless it's a battle. And I knew it would be a tough game for the Leafs to lose or Leafs to win, and a tough game for them to lose as well. But they played well, I thought, overall. They scored late in the third to even bring on OT. And this is a different team, right? Like we normally would fold down 2-0, and somebody else is building in the playoffs, but we battled back. What are your thoughts here on the Leafs and how they played?
Well, I think it was like the 5-on-5 was actually pretty good. It came down to special teams. The Sens scored a shorthander and they scored on the power play. So basically, their special teams is better than ours. So they're better than the Leafs. So that's basically what it come down to. You know, obviously you're fighting for your life when you're down 3-1 or 3-0, and they put their best foot forward. There's no doubt, and I think that they've proven that they're a lot better team than I think people give them credit for. And I like to bug my Ottawa fans, but I thought they were a half decent team anyway. And considering it's a lunch bucket team, right? They're not a highly skilled team. They got 1.5 lines really as far as skills concerned. However, their defensive core is actually quite good. It's fairly solid. So, and they move the puck well. They're actually very mobile, and I think they've got probably. I would say in the next couple of years, they're going to have one of the better defensive cores in the league, because these guys like Pinto and whatnot that are up and comers, they're playing fantastic. They're playing above their head though. This is good hockey, and I'm enjoying it. I missed part of the game unfortunately because I was working, but I got to see the highlights as well as a little bit of the game at the start. But from what I saw, physicality was good on both sides. Ottawa is still a little bit more physical, I think, like more often. I won't say more physical with the hits, but they were more often. And it was a pretty good game overall. And if you're gonna make them lose, or you're gonna lose, you might as well battle hard, because these guys, I think, are at the end. This is it for them, and I would say that they're probably that was the end. That's the big push. So
Absolutely. Agreed, brother. 44 hits for Ottawa in that game, and I think that might have made a little bit of a difference. I thought that we were a little bit slow in the overtime. And they're doing a good job with that. I'll give them that. But we did outshoot them in this game, 34-21. That was the difference. The Ottawa was out shooting us, but I thought that Toronto got a lot of rubber on Allmark and really just absolutely fired the puck. So I loved it. But Ottawa 10 penalty minutes against 6, and we had a 4-minute major called against Ottawa for a cross check in Tavares' face. Was it Tavares? I can't remember. But anyway, that was just going over those stats. It just thinks that Toronto kind of let one go get away. I think, especially tying it late.
Yeah, if you can't score on a 4-minute penalty, there's something wrong. And when you have absolutely. This, there's no excuse with this type of team. When you got that kind of, it comes down to too many passes, too many shots that are trying to be perfect shots. And in the playoffs, that like 90% of the shots that go in they're not just going straight in. They're bouncing off somebody. There's screenshots. There's something, whatever. There's traffic in front. Very, 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 very few. Well, actually, the first game I guess is a little different because up the middle they just totally destroyed Ottawa. But most of the time it's all bump and grind stuff in front of the net. And if you're trying to take that perfect shot all the time, you're not going to get it. You're just not going to get it. So just put the puck on net, keep shooting. You never know what's going to happen.
Hey, that's what Don Cherry used to say in his show. Is Coach's Corner is put the puck on net. Especially in overtime. And what happened in this game? Jake Sanderson fired the puck on the net from the point, and there was traffic in front. And Stoley, the goalie, had no chance on that shot whatsoever. My beef with the Leafs right now, and I've said it a couple times in this show for the playoffs, clear the fucking net. Like, especially in overtime, you're not going to get a penalty for cross-checking somebody in the back, clearing the net. And there was nothing. They literally stood beside the player in front of the net and did nothing. Like there was no pressure on that guy to move that guy out of the net. And the shot came, and Stoley just didn't see it all. It was a beautiful shot by Jake. Absolutely a great shot. And as soon as it went off, I'm like, oh, fuck. Even before it went in, I kind of felt it. And boom, now we're game 5. Headed back down the 401 to Toronto, to Scotiabank. tomorrow for Game 5. Let's move on here. It's going to be an absolute war. Game 5. What are your thoughts on Game 5, and what do you think the Leafs are going to do Game 5?
I know what they need to do, and I guarantee you that Berube is going to be putting a burr under their saddle. I don't think that he'd be too impressed with, even though they played a half decent game. I don't think he'd be too impressed with not winning. As far as I'm concerned, you put the friggin' you got your foot on their neck, you finish the job, stomp on the throat. You know what I mean? And they just didn't do it. I think that this is going to be a very high speed game. If Toronto doesn't come out high flying, physical, fast, and doesn't play all three periods, and I mean if they don't play all three periods, it could cause some problems. But I still think that that's what they have to do is come out fast, lots of energy, lots of intensity, and especially on the forecheck, you can't give them time. Their defense passed the puck really well, and they skate really well. So you can't give them time. They're still young defense, though. They're going to make mistakes. If you put pressure on them, they're going to make mistakes. You don't have to be perfect. Just get in there and force them, and don't give them any time to look where they're passing. When they're facing the boards and stuff like that, you got to make sure you're on them so they don't have any time. And make sure they hear you coming. That's what they got to do. And if they don't do that, then Ottawa, you never know. You never know what happened. I'm not like Ottawa's not coming back from this. There's no question in the world that they're coming back from this. However, it's after last night's game the other night's game, I kind of think that they spent their load, but we'll see what happens. Young guys tend to have young energy, so you never know.
Well, in their building, right? And it was loud and electric. I gotta say that
19,000.
Canadian Tire Center was louder than the Leafs stadium has been all year. I got to give them that. Give them credit. Give credit to the fans. They showed up, and they really showed up in drones, and they were loud. And I think that might have been the edge. But I don't think that they're going to have the other opportunity to win a game in their barn again. Because
no. I think they're closing it out.
Yeah, they really are going to close it out. And you know what? It's kind of a blessing in disguise. The Leafs are going to be more pumped about winning, the first series at home than they would have in Ottawa, right? Like it would have been great to win it, but it's going to be nice.
You know what? You're talking about saving energy, because you want rest, and like playoffs, you're getting beat up it's physical. 44 hits, you said in that game, and a lot of these are on the defense, so you get your defense getting worn down. The longer it goes, the more they get worn down. So I think physically, you're better off finishing somebody off as quick as you possibly can. The only thing I say that I don't like is that if the other teams are not finished for a while, sometimes teams will get on a hot streak when you're playing. Like the other teams that you're going to end up playing against gets on a hot streak, and they don't want to stop playing. They're playing well. They just want to be on the ice 24/7. So I guess there's a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation. But I still think that with Toronto not being, they're a lot bigger than they used to be. Like physically on the back end, they're a lot bigger for sure. But up front, they're still not they're a bit. I guess they're a big enough team, but they still have some smaller dudes. And physically, they can get beat around a bit. So I think the extra time off is much better.
All right. Well, then let's hope the Leafs, get her done at home. Now Matthew Knies got another goal in the second period, and I got to say, this kid's been on fire this year. We talked about him numerous times on the show, but let's talk about him again because I thought that his play in this game was quite impactful. Getting into the dirty areas, just getting her done, and just absolutely love this kid and the passion that he brings. What is your thoughts on Matthew Knies' game yesterday?
Physicality, intensity. He didn't have his teammate. He had maybe a couple of guys on the team that were following him this time. I found, as far as what I seen of the game, the intensity wasn't there for a lot of the players. The big guys didn't come out to play, even though they had their impact, but it wasn't it wasn't a big impact. They lost, obviously not big enough impact, except for Knies. Like these guys are. they're playing well, but they're not playing great, you know. And even when they won 6-2, it still wasn't a great win. Um, so I think that Ottawa's basically, and I hate saying this because you know who's going to be uh, going to be saying something, but he's not wrong. You know, they're outplaying the Leafs really for
They truly are.
like not the whole game. That's the thing. I'm going to say this: like the Leafs, when they put it on them, it's they're all over them. You know, but the majority of the game's been controlled by Ottawa. And even though like when Toronto kicks it in, they're controlling a lot more. They're taking right over. Ottawa's done that a few times too. Don't get me wrong, but I just find that Ottawa's like Toronto seems a little bit flat. Toronto seems a little bit flat in comparison to what they should be. They have their first few minutes of the game and the first few minutes of each period, and then it seems to die off. And of course, at the end of every period, they're always like the last 4 minutes they're flying. But you got to play a full 60 minutes.
Absolutely. Yeah. And you know what? If we move on to the second round, we're not going to go further. If we played like we played against Ottawa, I think we're going to have to step it up a little bit because, the Leafs played well. They're on fire, last, 10 games of the season. And then they go into this matchup. And you're right. Like I think the Story, the goalie's been the difference, right? He's been playing well and really, putting up some massive numbers and really, holding this team together. And I really think that he's been the difference, with his numbers and with his gameplay. I just don't see Ottawa winning 2 games in Toronto's building.
No, they're not going to win any. I don't think. I'm not. I think it's done. They just can't come out flat. They don't like when I was talking earlier. It was more about just making sure it's not a close game. I think they need to put the pedal to the metal and just get it done. Get an insurmountable lead. Definitely more than 3 goals. So, they need like a four goal lead and just keep on going. Don't sit on it. Like okay, Ottawa's going to score a goal or 2. We already know Stolarz is likely going to keep them to like 2 or 3 goals at the most. So you need to score 4 or more. Like that's all you need. So you can depend on Stolarz to not let any more than 3 goals in. I mean, he hasn't let any more than 3 goals in regular time. It's the last night was overtime, right? So the other night. So it is what it is. I just they're too good.
What a difference he's made though in this series and this year for this Leaf team. And this has been a goalie that the Leafs have wanted, right? And steady performance like this guy. And we keep bringing him on the show, but you know what? He's the number 1 part of this team right now. He really has been holding this team together like glue. And it's the passion that he has that has won these games really for the Leafs. I've got to say, man, he really has been fantastic. We'll move on here. I wanted to briefly talk about this guy. We don't talk about him enough on the show, but Ekman Larsson. Larsson's got 2 goals in this series, and I thought that he's been absolutely fantastic. This guy is just unreal. What are your thoughts on Ekman Larsson and the addition and what he brings to this Leaf team?
Well, he's got all facets of the game. If you put a little burr under his saddle, which I keep bringing up, is he plays physical. He can play physical. He doesn't always, but he can. I like to see him play more physical, but again, he's that skilled. He's kind of like that Nick Lidstrom type player where he doesn't have to be real physical. There's still physicality there, but it's more like rubbing guys out as opposed to hammering them. It's more like taking away space as opposed to checking. He just uses his body very well and positioning very well. He passes very well. He can score. He's obviously a threat at all times when it comes to scoring. And his vision and hockey IQ is he's up there. He's very, very intelligent hockey player. Doesn't make a lot of mistakes. He's again, like he's very Nick Lidstrom kind of player. They don't skate the same, but it's still a similar style of play. And I find that he's probably he feels it seems like he feels like he's at home in a Leafs uniform. I think he's probably been the most comfortable looking I've seen in the last probably 5 to 7 years. And I believe part of that is the high flying offense. And I think that's what he's built for. So yeah, he's been a great addition, and the leadership value that he brings is fantastic. He's been around for a while now, so it's not just on Riley, it's not just on uh, the guys up front. You've got another now solid guy that's a veteran that's been back there and can quarterback power plays, can quarterback 5-on-5, and he can play the penalty kill as well. So.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, my thoughts on Ekman is, he really brings something different to the Leafs and a ton of leadership, right? And it's those guys that impact games like this that are coming up tomorrow that he's going to make a difference on the ice. And I think that Riley as well, he's going to have a big game. These guys love this team. And who doesn't love this team when you play for them, right? Everybody hates them if you don't play for them. But when you play for them, you love this team because we're so passionate as a fan base. And you just got to love playing for the Leafs. And, I think that Ekman Larsson signed up for this team and said, you know what? Yeah, I'm going to Toronto. I'm going to love it there. And he has. And what a difference he's made in a couple games and a couple goals. Like, you don't expect Ekman Larsson to score goals, but when he does, it's just an added plus. He's a stay-at-home guy that's he's got a great shot when he lets it go, and absolutely made a difference in this game, but we just couldn't close it out in overtime. But yeah, once again, Leafs lose in game 4. Game 5, ding ding. It's coming up. Let's talk about keys for success. I got 3. And I already mentioned one before, J-Dog. I already mentioned one. Clear the fucking net. Like, literally, how do you expect your goalie to stop shots if you got a big old butt in front of your face, right? Clear the net. It is number 1. And I think that's so important for the Leafs to kind of learn their mistake because Stores is on fire, right? He's playing well. Clear the damn net. Breaking out. I thought we did it way better in game 4 than we did game 3 and game 2. And I think that we've got to be consistent about that. Limit the time in regular time play for Ottawa in our zone, especially at home. Limit time. And then number 3, I got to say, is our all-stars got to show up in this game. Where has Nylander been? Right? Where's Nylander? And I said last year, get him off my fucking team. You know why I said that last year? I was so passionate about that? Is because he doesn't show up in the playoffs, right? Where's he been?
Well, last year in the playoffs, he played pretty well. He played pretty well in the playoffs last year, though.
But where is he this year? Right?
Yeah.
He's that type of guy. Also, Matthews. Come on, buddy. Let's go. Let's get Matthews going. I thought that Marner has been playing fantastic. Tavares has been playing fantastic. But where the heck is Matthews and Nylander? Anyway, those are my thoughts. What are your keys for success for game 5? How do the Leafs wrap this bad boy up?
Well, I sincerely think that the 3rd and 4th line boys need to step up as well. They've been playing pretty good, but they still need to do some. That forecheck has to be constant. It's got to be a barrage constantly. So that's the main thing. You got to tire them out. They're a young team. The only way you're going to beat them is if they're a fairly skilled team. So the only way you're going to beat them is if you tire them out, and you got to do that physically on the forecheck. Like the Russian kid there, forecheck, back check, paycheck. But I missed that kid too. But yeah, I think that it's as simple as that. It really is. As far as the high flying guys, I mean, Mitch Marner is about as slick as Ron Jeremy in an afternoon 20-minute video session, if you know what I'm saying. And he can skate, he can shoot, he can fly. He's a fantastic player. He's been their best player, I think, other than Nyes. I think he's been their best player all around because he's waiting for that big money at the end of the season. He wasn't stupid, and I think he knew he was going to play better. I think he knew he had to play better, and he's been playing better. But the rest of the guys, the core 4, JT's been great on the face-off. I will say he's been great that way, and he's still playing well. He's still playing well, but none of these guys are doing what they should be doing. They should be scoring. The top 4 guys should be scoring a goal a game, I think. It should be a goal a game or pretty close to a goal a game. And because, every once in a while you're going to have a couple goals, right? So it should be a goal a game. and they're not doing
Yes,
that right
sir.
now. They're probably at about 700. So I think they need to pick it up a little bit. And lastly, um, getting the puck out of your own zone obviously is definitely one of the most important things. And they've been the last two games I found they struggled doing that. And I clearing the net out of your own zone, all those things in your own zone. Your D zone play has to be better.
The ABCs of hockey, the small things. And that's what wins you hockey games in the playoffs is the small things. And you know what? I hope that they do it. I really hope that the Leafs, clinch this series and move on to game round two in game five. I hope this is the last one for this series. Well, it's been a hell of a show. We got to talk though about real three keys to this team, and I think what's going to get them done is passion, grit, and determination, baby. And I think the Leafs have got it this year. I really truly do, and I know our fan base has it, but I think though that the Leafs now have passion, grit, and determination, and enough to bring us to round two and further this season. What are your thoughts on those three words, J Dog?
Well, the grit's the biggest one. I mean, they all have determination. They're in the NHL. They should have that. The passion is something. I mean, you're still playing. You're playing. You're getting paid millions of dollars to do the thing that you love. So that shouldn't be a problem. The grit is a whole other thing because it's hockey. PK Subban was on some basketball channel there not that long ago, and he was bitching about how the NBA can go through the motions and go through a game, and your fan base is expected to still cheer for you, and yet you get days off because you're not feeling well, or rest days and stuff like that. Where the NHL is a totally different. You have to play with passion. Sometimes you have to fight. Sometimes you have to do all these things. You can't just mail it in. And what's been happening is I find that's the grit has been mailed in. And it's just not like it should be. I'd love to see Marner start throwing some checks. If the guy can skate, he's obviously solid on his skates. You rarely see him on his ass, so darn well he's probably pretty well balanced, but he barely ever throws a hit. I know he doesn't like that physicality, but he should start showing it. And more than him, Matthews. You're 6'4" and 240 pounds. I love the way he protects the puck and stuff like that, but there's no grit. There's no grit to his game. There's zero grit to his game. He's getting a little bit more pushy and chubby when there's scrums, but that's it. There's no grit to his game. You got to have it, and they're mailing it in. So we'll see how it goes, because you're not going to get away with that when you're playing against Tampa Bay or Florida. You're just not. So they need to step it up, and if they don't, it's going to be second round exit again.
Well, tragically up shirt on today. Courage is your word, and I gotta say, as vote day, I hope that the Canada had enough courage to get out there and vote for the Canada that you want, because we know last 10 years has not been what we wanted. But I gotta say, before we end the show, a big go Leafs go! Courage is your word. Get her done, Leafs. Thanks so much for tuning in. We'll see you next time, hopefully in round two. Go Leafs, go. Keep your stick on the ice. Keep your head up. We'll see you next time. Cheers.